When reading Blind Rage, I was first struck by how blunt her rage was against Helen Keller, as well as her implicit criticisms of society's characterization of Keller as a saint and idol. I, like everyone else, grew up being taught that Keller was one of the greatest Americans in history, an inspiration for all. It does not matter how hard you have it. You too can succeed if you try. But as I progressed through the book, I began to understand how stressful it must be to go through your entire life being measured against an impossible standard, especially if that standard is based off myth rather than a real person. Within her letters to Keller, Cleage isn't trying to throw dirt on her legacy. Cleage is searching for the real Helen Keller, the person we can identify with. For example, within her letters, Cleage exposes a widespread assumption that I was certainly guilty about. That assumption was that Helen Keller was a saint, and that she had no sex life. How could she? She was blind and deaf. It would not work. Those assumptions were an example of ableism waiting to happen. Without reading this book, I probably would have continued with this assumption, without realizing how thoughtless it was. Cleage successfully argues that the real deal, as opposed to the myth, shows us that rather than something to be overcome, a disability is instead a different way of being. That instead of being isolated in a sterile jar, Keller, like everyone else, should be recognized as the multifaceted human being she is.